So it's finally time I finished the Witch's Forest arc in Black Clover, and like I've been doing for the last year, every time we finish a Black Clover arc, we do a final breakdown and discussion about it. So in this video, we'll talk about the intro of the arc, how it all started, how the Eye of the Midnight Suns are involved, teamwork and friendship, character growth, new characters introduced, Asta's anti-magic, big revelations and surprises, and how this impacts the story as a whole. So I'm looking forward to talking about this arc because it had like 3 major sections during it, how the first section was the attack on Kitten with the Diamond Kingdom. I will arguably say that this was the most out of place part of this entire arc. It didn't feel like it really set up this arc, but it possibly set up the next one, because the next one is called the Royal Knights. So it makes me feel like that was kind of a tease for what's to come. Mostly because we have the Diamond Kingdom attacking Kitten, which is in the Clover Kingdom, having Yuno and Belle show off their strength, and also just see how Belle's interaction with other characters are. She's actually talkative. I thought she would be a silent spirit, but she's very obnoxiously loud, and it kind of works with some of the characters, but can kind of get a little bit annoying, especially because she gets so jealous of everything around her because she wants to go out with Yuno. However, I did love the beginning of the arc because of Yuno and Asta's interactions. Asta's all banged up. He's not able to use his arm, but it didn't stop him from getting in there and fighting. He was ready to help out, even though he was limited of what he could do. I really liked how when Yuno and him came face to face, they insulted each other, but they still respect one another. Yuno recognizes that when Asta's injured, he knows that he's gained strength. He knows Asta has done something different and has grown a lot more since he last saw him. I just love how they properly respect one another. They smile, they have a good time because they're rivals, but of course they're also family. But this is also the arc where we get to meet Langris now after last arc where we got to see the flashback with him from Finral. Right away, I hate him. I hate him so much because he comes in and he's just a shithead. He's calling Asta and Charmy children, even willing to risk the civilians to take down the Shining General. Like, there are other ways to do things and he just doesn't care. He's like, nah, we're gonna do this. It's my duty. Who cares about the civilians? Like, that's not what a knight should do. A knight should be protecting the people around him. So with all that, that already made me hate the character. It already made me realize why Finral and his brother don't get along is because his brother's an asshole. However, that did set up some great moments with Asta because I love how Asta stands up for them. He takes down the Shining General with Charmy and Finral's support, only using his teeth and the sword, showing that there are other ways. You literally have an anti-magic dude who can come and help you, and he was able to take down the dude while you were willing to risk the civilians' lives. So showing that Asta is a better hero. And it also gave us Finral standing up for his squad, and he's actually able to take a stand against his younger brother. Someone who felt like he was a failure before, finally getting a little bit of a backbone, realizing he can be more, and realizing he is a support character for his friends. And after what they dealt with in the last arc with Veto, he's grown a lot and realized he can face some of the bigger fears that he was always so scared of. Which Finral's and Langris's interaction definitely makes me feel like we're going to be getting a brother versus brother fight at some point. And I do want to see Finral kick his ass or have the Black Bulls help Finral kick his brother's ass. And the ending to those interactions, I just love how Yuno stood up for Asta by straight face looking at Langris and being like, Asta is my rival because they want to become Wizard King. And I really love how that shows respect for Yuno and Asta. That's one of the things I really empathize in these couple episodes. Asta and Yuno respect one another and that they will defend one another as well when it comes to people talking shit about their friends. So it's just great moments between them. And I forgot to mention as well, before I get too far into this, I just love how Klaus and Mimosa are there as well. I love when they show up and I just can't wait to see more of them interact. It was just a snippet of them, and I'm really hoping we get to see more in the next arc to come. Now, that wasn't the only big thing set up during this, because they finally did the Vengeance face reveal. And that wasn't the only thing they kind of set up during this that didn't really feel part of this arc, where after the last few arcs, my theory was that Vengeance might have been licked, and that's what was really going on behind the scenes. But instead, it's actually not true. Langris just has a giant scar on his face, but I do love how Yami went up to him and just straight up asked, let me see your face, because he had a suspicion. But it was extremely interesting and kind of foretelling for what might be coming. Because Vengeance has a similar face, his key and voice feel the same as Lick's, he's kind of teeing up that maybe something else is going on behind the scenes. You know, we do know now after this arc that Fauna was being controlled by another person. Maybe, just maybe, Vengeance could be being controlled as well, or Vengeance might have like a twin brother, which could be Lick. However, I do like how it set up that Vengeance and Yami became captains at the same time. We realized that Vengeance has a giant scar on his face, and he was called a cursed child because of it. So some interesting kind of little plot details to show that this kid grew up in the Forsaken Realm. Is another one with another powerful magic because of his World Tree magic. Even though he was abused as a kid, the Wizard King was fascinated by him and took him under his wing, just like how he did Yami. And I like how they also point out during this that Yami knows he's not lying and then questions if it could just be a coincidence, which obviously it's not a coincidence. Something else is going on. And I love how they have these little details in this anime that kind of set up for what's to come and tease like, oh, this mystery might be revealed here, or there's another thing that might point you in different directions. Like with his face reveal, it shows that he's not licked, at least not right now. And it kind of makes you wonder, okay, what's actually going on behind the scenes? And obviously, if you know what's going on, please don't put the spoilers in the comments because I will get there eventually. We're already 65 episodes in. There's only like 100 and something more to go. I'm almost there. But before we actually get into the Witch's Forest part, they just had to throw in another great moment with our characters. After the battle at Kitten, you had the Black Bulls all going out to find a cure for Asta because he's not able to get his arms healed. So it just shows them being one great family. Really good moment showing how each of them all go in pairs to figure out something, and they all need to do this for Asta because of how much Asta has done for them. And on top of it, it really shows Asta not giving up. He refuses to be depressed again, and he will never give up no matter what because he's not a failure, and he will never let anyone call him that. One of the things that Asta has done a great job at in this entire anime is motivating everyone around him to be better. He continues to inspire them, and I love how they all went on their own journey to figure out how to heal him. Even having that moment where Asta says he's blessed with great friends, like, it's just such a touching moment, and it's really important for it as well. It's because it's showing us that the Black Bulls are a family. It's a found family. This is who they are, and they will do anything to protect one another, and I am so happy I've chose to watch this anime because that's one of the things I really love. I love redemption arcs. I love underdog characters, and I love characters who inspire people around them, are the hero, will do anything to protect innocence, and are just generally good people. And as we move forward, before we get into the Witch's Forest part of this arc, we have the brand new character introduced during it. Well, brand new characters, because we had Zell, and I really liked his story because even though it was 2 episodes that were a little out of place, it really did set up a cool relationship with Asta and Zell and what has been going on. I like how it kind of showed that Asta has been trained with a sword and he didn't learn it all by himself, and he went through a little interaction with the Diamond Kingdom before we even got to Mars and the whole dungeon debacle. And there was a bunch of twists in those episodes as well, with Mariella coming in, acting like the student, then betraying Zell, and also killing the other students because she's one of the assassins. Like, that is so freaking dark, and I wasn't expecting that. All for it to come around again, where she left with Zell, betrayed Zell, came back, then betrayed the Diamond Kingdom and helped Zell again. So it showed that she kind of realized what was wrong, how she was being manipulated by her kingdom, and chose the right path. And with Mariella betraying her kingdom, I do love that episode where Zell accidentally walks into the Black Bulls, gets yelled at and called a pervert because he lost his clothes again. The Noelle and everyone else just beats the crap out of him. Like, that was hilarious. I thought that was a really fun moment, and I love how the Black Bulls help him find Domina and save her before the Diamond Kingdoms can assassinate her. Whereas when we learned that Mariella was actually going to help Domina. And I really liked that. And it was also really big information finding out that they wanted Zell to come back to train Mars because Mars was their trainer in the past and he was a commander in the Diamond Kingdom, showing he was a very important person who now betrayed the Diamond Kingdom because he doesn't agree with their values. So showing how people can change over time and realize there are good people who are ready to fight for their ideals. And I really liked Zell's introduction, and I can't wait to see more of him now after this arc because he was a great character, and now that we know that Fauna is going to be with him, I'm hoping we see them again in the future, sooner rather than later. But after meeting Zell, Domina, and Mariella, that led us into the Witch's Forest arc, going there, kidnapping Asta, not telling him where they were going so that he wouldn't fight back, and leading into the confrontation with the Midnight Suns, as well as the Queen of Witches, of course. Now, the start of this arc with the Queen of Witches was really interesting because you had Vanessa getting ready to sacrifice herself to save Asta, and I love how Asta's like, no one's gonna sacrifice themselves for me. Like, he refuses to let it happen, and I love that. The one thing I will say is I was surprised that they healed Asta's arm so quickly, but it was really for the Queen of Witches' own goals because she wanted to see him in action and wanted to see him use his anti-magic powers to kind of investigate it for her own means. So it was an interesting start to the arc. It really picked up quickly, like super quickly. They got to the Witch's Forest. Within an episode, they were already fighting Fauna and her spirit dragon and the Eye of the Midnight Suns, and the Diamond Kingdom was attacking, like, all in an instant. That's what I really liked about this arc, is that as soon as we got into it, we were deep, and it just started to pick up and ramp up way faster than some of the other arcs, and I really enjoyed that part. Now, even though the fight with Fauna started first, let's start with the Diamond Kingdom fight, because that just led back into the fight with Fauna. Because I like how we had the Diamond Kingdom. We find out why they're there. And it was because they were ordered to go after the Queen of Witches to get her blood because she's lived for so goddamn long. And I thought that was an interesting plot point to begin with because it really seemed like a big coincidence that the Diamond Kingdom and the Eye of the Midnight Suns were attacking at the same time. But it was because that the Diamond Kingdom wanted the blood. They're like, oh, well, the Eye of the Midnight Suns are here for some reason. Let's just sneak in after them and get the queen before anyone finds out. Which, she is so powerful, I kind of wonder if that would have worked at all for them if the Black Bulls weren't there. I feel like the Queen of Witches probably would have kicked all their asses and they probably would have all ended up dead. But it was cool to see Zell fight his former students and kind of learn all that backstory that was going on with it. And I really liked that you had Mars. That was one of my favorite parts, was Mars and Fauna interacting again, but we'll get to that. And I liked how we met Ladros, who was batshit crazy and literally only wants power. And the fact that he can absorb magic and send it back was also just a crazy magic power that I wasn't expecting to see in this arc. Even during the fight, we got a Mariella flashback with her being a cold-blown killer, which I think was really interesting because it shows how far she's come. She's trying to be better after her interactions with Asta. She doesn't want to let him down after he helped her, even though she was his enemy. and it shows her growing as well. And the thing was with arc, it had a lot of flashbacks. Having a Zell flashback showing him training Mars, trying to tell Mars to be better, using his powers to be good rather than doing bad things with them. And I really like how it was showing that Zell and Mariella were both trying to atone for the bad things they've done. And I think this part of the arc really did a great job at progressing these new characters we were literally just introduced to. Even having progression for Mars as a character while he steps in to help Zell save Domina because he's not a killer anymore. Especially after that fight with Asta during the dungeon arc, he got his memories back. He didn't feel as robotic as I'm just here to do my duty. Felt like a normal person again. And I think that's one of the things that after Asta beat him with his anti-magic sword, it fixed Mars. It corrected something in him that was taken away from him a long time ago. And I love how when they try to figure out how to take down Ladros, Zell mentions that they have someone with anti-magic. I think right there, Mars kind of clicked who it was. And I love the moment when they punch Ladros over to the Fauna fight. With that, now let's jump into the Fauna fight and we'll go back to the beginning for that. Because these two fights, again, happen in the middle of one another, I just wanted to tie it all together. And my first thought when the Iron Night Sons came and found out what they were there for, and they were there for a magic stone, my first thought was, of course they're there for a magic stone. Also just being there was an icing on the cake so Fauna could get a revenge. However, I love how it didn't go as planned, because instead of Asta just charging into the fight, he's a good-hearted character, so he's trying to understand why she hates him, why they want to attack so badly. Like, instead of fighting like they did with Veto, he wants to understand why the Iron Midnight Suns hates them so much. And it shows character growth, because any other character would have been hard-headed, just go and fight the enemy. Who cares about anything else? We just gotta take them down. But Asta's trying to actually show compassion, understand them. That's what makes a good character. That's what makes a good hero, is trying to understand rather than just punching her way through everything. And I mean, the fight itself was pretty cool. Having Asta use his anti-magic, sneak up on her a couple times, get a couple good hits on him, and then having the cool slingshot move where Vanessa and Finral send them flying to the Spirit Dragon and popping it like a balloon was great. And I really liked how it kind of got a little crazy there, because we even got Noelle using her Sea Dragon magic again, which gives her a badass move. She was able to take down Veto, and she was able to fight against the Spirit Dragon. Now, the thing is with the Spirit Dragon and the spirits, it feels like Asta's the secret weapon to taking him down because of his anti-magic. I'm still waiting for Asta to get more swords, but after this arc, it doesn't really feel like he's gonna be, because he's holding the two Master Swords, but it definitely still feels like he could get more. It's a whole Grimoire. He gotta unlock more spells at some point, right? After they dealt with Fauna initially by blowing up the Spirit Dragon, this really set up where teamwork and friendship started to come in and played a crucial role in this arc, especially with the bonds between the characters. And when I mean that, I mean Mars and Fauna, because when Mars finally does come in after they launch Ladros over there, I love right away when Asta's questioning why Mars is there, I was like, trust me, he's on our side. Showing how Asta trusts his teacher. And also kind of tease back to the dungeon arc where Asta was willing to save Mars after him and Yuno defeated him, because it sets up that Asta's still caring. So if someone's willing to do good, he's willing to trust them, because he knows people have good inside them. Not everyone is evil. And I really like how that led into Mars and Fauna having that big reunion. The reunion I've actually been waiting for so freaking long. Because after we saw that Fauna was still alive in the Eye of the Midnight Suns encounter, my first thought was, I want to see Mars and her reunite. And we finally did. With a bunch of big revelations we'll talk about in a bit, but I really like that instance because they had Asta and Mars working together to save Fauna. And I love how while Fauna is like powering up, gonna do one big final suicidal blast like Veto did, Mars and Asta are doing their best to reach out to her. Mars is screaming her name, trying to connect with his best friend, and you had Asta working with his enemy to save her. And I love how this ended up leading into where Mars is calling Asta the true embodiment of a real knight, because he chooses to protect and save everyone else rather than just trying to take down the enemy. He's trying to save Fauna. He's not trying to just take her down. And it was a really emotional episode watching Mars get to see his friends again, save her because he thought she was dead, showing the flashbacks of him killing her during that big fight. And after years, he was able to connect with the one he loved, and I really like that. It was just so good, really good scenes, and I felt like all these little connections with the character, kind of teasing up what was to come, having them trust one another, and it was like a really nice, heartwarming scene to watch. Which just led into a sick moment with, after they save Fauna, Ladros coming in and fighting Asta, which their initial fight was pretty cool, with having Ladros just shoot laser beams at him, and Asta, instead of going for a vital spot, just chucking his sword at Ladros to knock him down, showing that he's not trying to kill the dude, he's trying to take him down and put him down on the ground for now, so he's not continually fighting. Up until the fact that he collects Fauna's power and absorbs all her very strong magic and becomes super powerful and unstoppable. I did think, though, during that part that he was going to be a little bit more of a flaming body rather than perfectly fine, but it was a very awesome fight to watch, especially when the Queen of Witches drops the hint that Asta might be one of their descendants because he wields the anti-magic swords and then starts to get the demon to come out using her blood magic. Awesome end scene to end the episode on, just kind of teasing up, and I could only imagine what the hype would have been while watching this week to week, being like, holy shit, what's about to come? With Asta's demon mode coming out, I have two major things to kind of combine one another. I had a section for Asta's anti-magic anti-magic and a section for the revelations and surprises, which kind of tie into one another. So we're going to talk about the anti-magic first, then go into the revelations, surprises, which will cover some of the stuff from earlier in the arc and then stuff from the end of the arc. So with the big fight with Ladros coming out, we got more details about Asta's anti-magic, which I thought was super interesting, and it actually just adds so much more to the story. And I love when we get these episodes where we just kind of get a lore dump, like, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's really going on, and boom, 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 really setting up the stakes for his character. During this arc is where his power becomes increasingly more important because of him facing off against the powerful opponents during this arc. Because when the Queen of Witches starts to manipulate things and have the inner demon come out, it seems to awake and want to take control of his body right away. I thought like the demon that resides within was something that was more cooperative, and that's just the person who controls it. But instead it was a demon trying to control Asta. But you can't really stop Asta because he's too good, and he's too good at not giving up. We're going to refuse anyone trying to take control of his body, which happens with both the demon and the Queen of Witches, but he wasn't really able to stop the Queen of Witches on his own. And I like how Asta is able to control the power, having this epic fight with Ladros, just seeing him being able to fly around. You know, got this kid with no magic, he's his anti-magic, and the demon's allowing him to fly, which I think was pretty sick, showing Asta getting a new power, being kind of half demon, half Asta. One of the most epic moments from the series so far. And he's literally being anti-magic himself, and I really liked how the Queen of Witches pointed out, Asta's anti-magic is like a tracker. It's tracking the magic where it goes. He follows it until it's completely out, which kind of just adds a new stake to it, where Asta's power is even more powerful than we thought. At first, it just seemed like it was the sword, but actually it's the power going through him into the swords, bashing stuff around, which I think is super intriguing, and it makes me curious to see how they're going to use this in the future. Because the Queen of Witches even talks about how he was unconsciously doing it before, but once he's actually able to control it himself, he won't have that unconsciousness to do it. He'll be able to use his anti-magic properly. I feel like it's going to be used in more unique ways as we progress through the anime. And I'm really excited to see kind of how they explore this, because if Asta is able to control it after this arc, I feel like we're going to get more badass moments going in the future. And I love how it dropped the details during that whole fight scene that Asta isn't actually one of the kin like she mentioned prior. And one of the most interesting facts about finding out that he's not a descendant is that he just had a mutation. Just a sudden mutation that he stopped him from getting any mana. And I like how they make a comment that it's like, oh, he's not special, but that's what makes him special. Kind of pointing out that this is just some random kid who got his 2 swords. So one of my theories to go along with the fact that Asta is wielding these 2 swords from the master of the Eye of the Midnight Sun, there might have not been any more descendants for that master. So the Grimoire chose someone with the potential to wield them because there was no one else around that could. So I like that theory because it shows that he's like kind of like the chosen one. He's not actually from the descendants, but because he's able to wield these anti-magic swords because he has no magic, it makes him the chosen one, which I think overall is pretty cool. And I really like how the fight with Ladros ended with Asta not trying to kill the guy. Instead, he wants him to apologize and make up for all the bad shit he's done. He wants him to be a better person. That just shows what kind of hero Asta is. Instead of taking out the bad guy, he wants him to be better. And he knows that there's good in people rather than always looking at the evil. Now with that, and with that epic fight and how we talked about the anti-magic, we're going to talk about the revelations and surprises that happened during the arc. So we'll start in the beginning and go to the end because there was a lot of stuff. Because right off the bat, when we got into the Witch's Forest arc, we had the Mars and Ladros dynamic. They both had different goals, where Ladros just wanted to gain power, where Mars was just following orders. He wanted to get the queen. He didn't really want to go after anyone who didn't need to be go after. No point in targeting innocent people, and is also why he betrayed his kingdom to save Zell. He wasn't about to kill Zell, one of the people that trained him, someone who cared about him. He was willing to protect him. Even though Zell's a traitor to their kingdom, Mars wants to be different. He doesn't want their kingdom to be this kind of evil, always looking to get power kingdom. He wants it to be more peaceful. And I really like how that led into the end of them wanting to turn it into a peaceful nation. Another big revelation during this, and a surprise, is that Fauna was being controlled. I did have a theory before that it felt like Fauna was a little bit more robotic. She seemed like something was going off. And I love how they pointed out that the Eye of the Midnight Sun took her over. It wasn't her memories she was seeing during the flashbacks we got, but instead they were all implanted in her. And with Asta and Mars, they were able to finally break that spell, a forbidden spell that put the eye on her, which looks like Licht had actually put someone else's memories in her, which made her Fauna the hatred. And it also just gave us the really shocking moments that Fauna barely survived her fight with Mars. They dumped her body, and then Licht found her unconscious body and turned her into Fauna the hatred. So just like really big moments that kind of just all happened at once. We're like, holy shit, what has been going on in this anime? And it finally reveals what's really been going on, at least for a partial of the story. And with the magic stone that was on her head as well, once that was gone, she was no longer Fauna the hatred. And speaking of the stone, once the stone was broken on Ladros, he was no longer crazy, which is pointed out in the comments by DJ Midori that it seemed like Ladros was also under some mind control, because
he seemed normal once the stone was broken.
And I mean, like we just talked about it, but one of the big shocking moments, of course, with Asta demon mode coming out and the Queen of Witches' real intentions, which were trying to take control of the anti-magic to be her weapon, and then Vanessa's red thread of fate, which makes it so Vanessa can change people's fates. Which I really like the scene with Vanessa awakening and getting that red thread of fate, which she was able to surpass her limits and become stronger, like Yami always says, because Noelle was in danger and the Queen of Witches trying to take out her friends. So I really like those moments, and they were really big moments because they literally had Noelle die for a second there. If it wasn't for Vanessa, the red thread of fate, changing it and making it so Noelle didn't die. Like they just had Finral get messed up, they had Noelle get messed up, and it was some really big shocking moments that got reversed really quickly. And I do like how the red thread of fate touch the queen, stopping the Queen of Witches from taking control of Vanessa, and also just making so Vanessa's pretty freaking OP. And I like how they pointed out that the cat is bonded to Vanessa and the people she's bonded with, so aka her family, the Black Bulls. So showing that these family bonds are very powerful, and that if you really care about someone and you don't want anything to happen to them, something will break and you will level up and surpass your limits, which has happened multiple times to Asta at this point. Now, if there's any other big revelations and stuff you want to talk about, let me know in the comments down below and we'll discuss it there. But let's move on to the backstories now, because we did get a lot of backstory in this, especially with the Midnight Sun stuff. Literally the biggest thing, finding out that the first Wizard King was friends with the elves and that he was at Lick's wedding with Lick's wife. And the thing is, Lick's wife also kind of looked like Mimosa. So it makes me wonder if the Vermilions are descendants of the elves,
Because it does look like that Lick's wife was human, and
because they had a magic stone, and that would actually make a lot of sense now that I'm saying it out loud. But we got to see more of the flashbacks of the elves being decimated. They turned and think the first Wizard King was the one that betrayed him. And I mean, to be fair, it was light magic that was coming through the barrier, killing all of them. So it would make sense. It looks like the one person they trusted from the human world that said they wanted to live amongst one another in like this peaceful way was the one that betrayed them, because of the power that the elves had. And we do see that Licht is reviving Fauna after the elves are killed. So that's probably something that has to do with those implanted memories, showing it. So whoever he was saving, he put in Fauna. And I really like the Eye of the Midnight Sun lore dump as well, because we found out the fact that the magic stones power up the elves. We find out that they were in the Forsaken Realm before being obliterated by the humans, and that Fauna's third eye was forbidden magic that was activated by someone else. And also a little hint that the big demon we've been seeing at the intros all the time were also forbidden magic that was activated by the leader of the elf clan, who wielded the swords that Asta now has. So some really big moments in this thing to tie into the backstory of the Eye of the Midnight Suns, what they're after, why they're going after the humans, and it's mainly because someone turned around and killed all of them. The Wizard King was their friend. It looked like they betrayed them, but I feel like something else going on behind the scenes. Someone else betrayed them, framed the first Wizard King, and the first Wizard King had to take them down. Either that, or it's the opposite, where the elves actually targeted them first, he revolted, or it's the opposite, where there was an elf that turned around, tried to kill the Wizard King went after them, then all the other innocents got caught up in the fight, kind of thinking they got betrayed. Now, as we continue with the backstories, we also got Vanessa's backstory. Dive into a little bit more after the last arc. We saw a little bit of it, where we had the Queen, who she saw the future of Vanessa being able to summon what she wants and returning to the forest alive one day, even though she did not know that what she wanted was the anti-magic sword. I mean, she wanted her red thread of fate, but as soon as Vanessa brought the anti-magic kid to her, she's like, oh, I want that as well to be her weapon. And it was really interesting how we learned during this with the flashbacks to Vanessa's backstory that the Queen of Witches didn't honestly look all bad. Like at first, she looked like she actually cared about Vanessa. She smiled. She was always happy with Vanessa bringing her little thread magic doll she makes. But then at some point in time, she locked her away, which just by coincidentally, Yami came busting through the door and freed Vanessa, and she joined the Black Bulls. Like he wasn't actually going there to fight the Queen. He just stumbled along the forest while training, had to fight the Queen, broke Vanessa out, and then she joined the Black Bull.
and coincidentally gave Vanessa the first choice she was ever able to make as a free girl.
So a lot of coincidental things that maybe it was actually Vanessa manipulating fate without realizing it when she was a child. She wanted to get out so badly that it happened. Someone came, gave her a new family, and took her out of the one that had her locked away. Again, extremely interesting stuff going on with Vanessa's backstory. Having her story kind of be a little bit more broken open with her true destiny, with the threads of fate, having Yami break her out, and what was really going on in the Witch's Forest. I feel like there's still a little bit of mystery going on. Like, why did the Queen go from like seeming to be like a caring mom to her to locking her away? Like, there's little things here and there that make me question if the Queen was actually really that evil, or if just time twisted her mind. Now, like every arc, we had a bunch of character growth, specifically with Vanessa, Mars, and Asta, where now Vanessa got new magical power with her red thread of fate, and she controls the threads of destiny. And it also had her trying to look into the ancient magic to heal Asta's arm, giving up her life in the process, just showing that she was a character always drunk, always hanging out at the Black Bull's base, kind of feeling like a screw up, to go to this character that wants to do anything to save her friend. She's gonna try to save him because he is a motivation to all of them. And I like how that just showed her grow. She wanted to become this hero. She wanted to help Asta, and I love where it kind of pushed her. Then you had Mars betraying his own nation to save Zell, where he learned from Zell's teachings to be good and use his powers to help people, befriending Asta and being determined to make the Diamond Kingdom a peaceful nation. Just these great moments from this character. It was this kind of like robotic monster that was sent from the Diamond Kingdom to be the warrior, learning to be his own person, wanting to be a hero, and wanting to turn his nation better. So I really like where that brought him. We've only seen him in like 2 arcs. It really moved his character along a lot since the last time we saw him. And then Asta, of course, is still continuing to be great. One of the major things is him talking to Fauna rather than trying to fight her right away. He wants to understand them. So showing he's growing instead of just jumping head straight into a fight, he wants to understand why he's going to be doing a fight. So some great moments, and I can't wait to see what else happens to him in the future as he learns how to be this proper magic knight in this world. But let me know if you have anything to add to their character growth. And with that, let's jump into the themes of acceptance and redemption, because we had a bunch of those in this arc as well. Like I just said, Asta trying to reason with Fauna rather than trying to kill her. That's a big thing of acceptance and trying to like accept who she is. Mars turning on his kingdom and defending the traitor Zell. Another thing I just said, but that shows redemption. He's trying to redeem himself for all the bad stuff he's done, and he wants to be good, just like Zell taught him. Asta accepting to help Mars to stop Fauna, and subsequently becoming friends, and that's just Asta accepting Mars, accepting that he can trust him because Zell said so, and seeing that Mars is a good person. And then we had Ladros at the end, turning around and wanting to go back with Mars to help the Diamond Kingdom, because he wants to help Mars turn into a peaceful nation to get the approval of his old master. He realizes he was wrong about what he was doing before, and he still wants power, but he wants to go about it a different way. And I like how that's kind of his redemption there. He's trying to be better after he got his ass defeated by Asta. Asta didn't kill him, and he realizes that, you know, maybe he should be better than he actually is. Then we even had the queen having some acceptance and redemption here, where she accepts her defeat by Vanessa. She kind of comes to terms with everything that just happened, allowing Vanessa to come back to the forest because that is her home, and that Vanessa is now free to come and go as she pleases. And it makes me question if Vanessa actually changed the queen's fate during this. She turned around and touched the queen with the red thread of fate, which might have turned her into a better person. Also making the queen realize her mistakes, that she shouldn't have locked Vanessa away. She should have been more of caring, because Vanessa, when she found her new family, she found people who cared about her. And maybe that was the one thing that she was missing this entire time to unlock the power, were people she bonded with. Like the queen says, she was so obsessed with everything being perfect that she didn't realize that the one thing Vanessa needed was to be imperfect, which allowed her to get the new spell, making her perfect in the end. She said a lot of these contradictions in this, like how Vanessa needed to be imperfect to be perfect, and how Asta wasn't special, but that's what made him special. So I thought that was really interesting, kind of having these characters who were the bad guys in this kind of redeem themselves near the end just a little bit. Now we got the impact of this arc on the entire story as we wrap up everything that we just talked about, with I the Midnight Sun using the forbidden magic on Fauna to use as their vessel. Now, does this mean that the other characters are the same? Was Veto being controlled by someone else? Was he actually Licht's friend? Or was that just the person that was implanted in him? That goes the same with the other guy that I can't remember his name for, the one that can do the copy magic. Now we have the Black Bulls also getting another magic stone and learning about the elves and Asta's swords, which is a big moment, because we had all the lore dump, Finral writing everything down and trying to understand that we have these elves here, the Eye of the Midnight Suns are related to them, and that they're trying to collect these magic stones to gain more power, because the magic stones are the ones that make them powerful. So that's a really big moment that's going to be tying into everything else. Yeah, that's all this information that we didn't know before that the Black Bulls now have. And then we also have the Queen of Witches having the magic stone on her, Nero finding it on her saying that bird, meaning Nero is something special, meaning Nero has something to do with the magic stones, and I'm super excited to see what happens with this. And then we got the change coming to the Diamond Kingdom with Mars and Ladros going back to make it better and a peaceful nation. Asta making allies with Mars, and both of them saying that if they need each other's help, they'll be there to help. Fauna going with Zell until Mars accomplishes goals. So having the Diamond Kingdom change a lot after this as well. So it makes me wonder how it's going to affect. Is Mars going to go over there and start an uprising, take control, kick out the bad, change it for the good? Or is Mars going to get captured and they're going to have to save him? So some interesting stuff I feel like coming from there. It can't be as simple as Mars walking up and like, hey, we're going to do peaceful now. No, something else has got to go down there. And the fact that the queen also gave a little bit of their blood means the queen isn't so evil after all. Again, I still think it might have been because Vanessa changed her fate, or maybe she just realized she was wrong and that there's other ways about going things, and Asta and them changed her mind. So I'm very curious to find out more there. I feel like there's some stuff that was definitely left open-ended and left for interpretation for the time being. So I'm very curious to see, and I say that a lot, I'm very curious to see. Every time something piques my interest, I just can't wait to find out what happens next. Of course, we got Vanessa's new power, which is a big game changer, and it makes me wonder how powerful this red thread of fate is. But it is cool to see Vanessa now have like a little ally. Asta's got Nero, Vanessa's got the cat, and of course we got Asta's new upgrade. He now has his demon mode, and I kind of wonder if he's able to control it a little bit more when he goes to use it. Like, is it something he can use at will, or will it be something that only comes out in times of life and death? But it does make it so he can fly, and it kind of feels like a fight between good and evil. I'm very curious to see how he uses it in the future. God damn it, I just said curious once again. I can't catch myself doing this. And of course, the dynamic kind of changes in the Witch's Forest. Queen allowing Vanessa to come and go as she pleases because it's her home. It's kind of making it seem like the Queen of Witches regrets her actions, like I said before, and that she seems more caring now. Again, this is another thing left open-ended. If Vanessa can come and go as she pleases, it feels like we're going to see the Queen of Witches at some point again. I feel like I've talked a lot more than I've done in the past, and I probably rambled on about a few things, but this arc was actually really fascinating with how they did things. Just having more lore dumped for the Eye of the Midnight Suns, having some pretty epic stuff for the Witch's Forest, having Vanessa, Asta, Mars, and Fauna have all of these really, really good moments. And it was a really impactful arc. Even if the first half of the arc felt very off and didn't really feel place of this arc, the whole Witch's Forest part was fantastic. Now, with the next arc coming, it's 30 episodes, and at least with the last few arcs, there have been about like 13, 15. They haven't been super long, so it's been really easy to make these review videos. And depending on what actually happens during the next arc, this video might actually be super long, or I might have to split into 2 parts because of how much information there is. So I guess we'll see as we go forward. But let me know what you guys think. Would you want to see the next arc split into 2? So after the first like 15 episodes, I do a breakdown, and then after the next 15 episodes, I do a breakdown, or should I just do everything at the very end? I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next in Black Clover. I mean, it's 30 episodes next. That means we're going to be going from the 60s to the 90s. Some pretty cool stuff is going to be coming, and I'm very excited to see what's to come from this. Let me know what you thought about the Witch's Forest arc. What were your favorite moments, and what stood out for you? I hope you like my little arc breakdown. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button to stay up to date with all my anime videos. And with that, thanks for watching again, and we'll talk to you next week when we watch the first episode of the Royal Knights arc.